Hey dudes, SilviteSoltis here, back with another classic video for you. As the new Anniversary servers, or Classic Fresh, has just recently launched, and people are leveling up, I thought it might be fun to discuss some tips and tricks to level your character effectively. Today, I'd like to start this off with one of the most iconic, challenging, and rewarding classes in World of Warcraft, the Warrior. Whether you're new to the class, or returning to Classic Fresh for another run, leveling a warrior can be a wild ride. At endgame, warriors are powerhouse tanks and brutal melee DPS, but leveling one is no easy feat. So, to make your journey through Azeroth smoother, I've put together a list of several essential tips to help you power through those levels and come out on top. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you enjoyed this video and want more classic content. But without further ado, let's jump right in. Tip number 1. Manage your rage efficiently. Unlike mana users, warriors rely on rage to fuel their abilities. Rage is generated when you deal or take damage, so it's crucial to keep your rage levels flowing. Start fights with auto attacks to build rage before unleashing abilities like Heroic Strike or Rend. And avoid wasting rage at the end of fights. If you're about to finish off a mob, hold back and save that rage for the next enemy. Tip number 2. Use a two-handed weapon for leveling, but keep a one-hander and shield handy. While dual wielding and sword and board can be viable later, two-handed weapons are the most efficient choice while leveling. Bigger hits mean faster kills and less time spent taking damage. Keep an eye out for two-handed weapons as quest rewards and as dungeon drops. Polearms, axes, or maces with high damage per second will be your best friend as a warrior. Tip number 3. Practice weapon swapping for different abilities. Some abilities work better with specific weapon types. For example, equipping a shield to use Shield Bash to interrupt a caster can save your life in tricky encounters. Find a key to quickly swap between two-handed and sword and board setups. Tip number 4. Always carry food, potions, and bandages. Warriors don't have self-healing, so downtime can be your biggest enemy. Stock up on food to recover health between pulls, and make first aid a priority profession to craft bandages. High-level bandages are a lifesaver during tough fights, or when you accidentally pull too many mobs. Also, make sure to always have several healing potions in your bags. You never know when you're going to need them. Tip number 5. Prioritize weapon skill. Weapon skill determines your chance to hit and crit enemies, so always make sure your weapon skill is maxed out for your level. If you switch to a new weapon type, spend some time on weaker mobs to train up your skill first. Also, make sure to visit the weapon masters in each of your faction's capital cities early on in order to unlock all the weapon types you might want to use later. As a warrior, there are a lot of them. Tip number 6. Leverage group play. Warriors shine in groups, even while leveling. Whether you're tanking for a dungeon run or tagging along with a healer for questing, grouping reduces downtime and lets you handle tougher mobs. Plus, you'll often have first dibs on tanking gear, which makes dungeon farming a win-win for everybody involved. Tip number 7. Use your utility abilities. Warriors have more tools than just raw damage. Abilities like Charge, Hamstring, and Intimidating Shout are crucial for controlling fights. Charge gets you into combat quickly while building rage. Hamstring can slow fleeing mobs to prevent them from pulling others, and Intimidating Shout is perfect for crowd control when things get hairy. Also, Piercing Howl is a fantastic talent for warriors in the Fury tree, available at level 20. It's an instant cast AoE that slows enemies within 10 yards by 50% for 6 seconds, making it invaluable for crowd control and survivability. Use it to escape dangerous situations when you've overpulled or need to kite enemies. Piercing Howl can also help you to create distance from mobs during tough fights, buying time to bandage or regain rage for a finishing strike. For warriors leveling solo, it can be a lifesaver that helps you keep you alive in dangerous situations. Tip number 8. Use Hamstring for leeway kiting. If you're struggling with tougher mobs, you can use Hamstring to create distance and safely kite them. Thanks to WoW's leeway mechanics, even melee characters can land hits while moving slightly away from their target. Use hamstring to slow the enemy, then step back and hit as they close the gap. This tactic works especially well against mobs that hit hard or deal burst damage. Tip number 9. Use Retaliation against groups. Retaliation is a warrior's ace in the hole for handling multiple mobs at once. This ability instantly counterattacks every melee strike for 15 seconds. Save it for moments when you accidentally overpull or need to fight multiple enemies at once, and it can often save your life. Also, remember to make use of it regularly as well. A cooldown that is never used might as well not even be on your bars. Tip number 10. Kill green mobs. Fighting green level mobs, those slightly below your current level, is one of the best ways to level efficiently as a warrior. Green mobs are much easier to hit, deal less damage, and die faster, letting you maintain higher uptime. The reduced challenge means you'll spend less time eating and bandaging between fights as well. For the most efficient leveling, look for zones where mobs are 2 to 3 levels below you. This strategy is especially useful when your current quest objectives feel too difficult or time-consuming. Tip number 11. Avoid overpulling by using line of sight. Warriors generally lack crowd control abilities, so pulling more than 1 or 2 mobs can quickly become overwhelming. Use line of sight tricks to pull caster mobs closer, forcing them into melee range. For example, duck behind a tree or the corner of a building after pulling a mob to control where they engage you. Tip number 12. Pick up defensive stance early. Once you hit level 10, complete your defensive stance quest. It's perfect for reducing incoming damage when fighting tough mobs or elites, even when soloing. Switching stances mid-fight can often mean the difference between victory and a corpse run. Finally, tip number 13. Embrace the warrior challenge. Leveling a warrior is one of the toughest journeys in Classic WoW, but it's also one of the most rewarding. Every level earned feels like an achievement, and by the time you hit 60, you'll be a force to be reckoned with. Stay patient, plan your pulls, and remember that every tough fight is preparing you for the epic battles to come. And there you have it, 13 tips to help you level your warrior in Classic Fresh. Warriors can be challenging to level, but with these tips, you'll be tearing through enemies and tanking dungeons like a pro in no time. That said, what are your favorite tips for playing a warrior? And to all the longtime warriors out there, did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your advice and experiences. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss future guides. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, take it easy, guys.